This episode of the Infos Podcast is brought to you by CBS All Access. Looking for a new streaming service to add so you can watch more stuff? Check out CBS All Access. Hit up infospodcast.com/CBS and you can get a free 1-week trial to CBS All Access and check out things like Star Trek Discovery, Picard, Survivor, all the other cool stuff that CBS has to offer. Star Trek Discovery, I said that already. You should really watch that. So hit up infospodcast.com/CBS to learn more. Hey, welcome back to the Infos Podcast. This is Brian, and with me remotely today,
DJ Jazzy Jazz, Daryl. I haven't used that in a while.
Wow, you should stop that.
Yeah, that was a college thing. Somebody called me like DJ Jazzy Jazz.
DJ Jazzy Jazz. Did you see they're moving forward with that Bel Air?
The OC / All American.
Yeah.
That's what I saw the trailer, and some people in the comments were like, "Oh, that looks awesome." I was like, "I've seen it before with the OC. I've seen it before with All American."
If they're gonna do it, I really hope they don't have any of the actors from that short film, though.
Oh yeah, they were
really bad.
Terrible.
They were terrible is an understatement. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to the show. This is the Infamous Podcast. Thanks, Julian, for being a patron. Thanks for all the 5-star reviews people are giving us lately, and all the downloads and stuff. Check out the show on YouTube if you want. It's just you don't get to see us, but it's still on there. Anyway, dude, there was a ton of news this week. There's a new movie coming out in sometime this fall called Cop and Feel. Anyway,
I was going all straight laced, and it's like, what's it called? Project Power comes out tomorrow on Netflix. Well, it comes out Friday on Netflix, so it'll be out by the time
you guys are listening to this. Project Power will be out, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. And if you get the Cop and Feel joke and you think it's funny, awesome. If you don't think it's funny, awesome. Anyway, this week we got some really disheartening news about the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had its series finale, yesterday. And then Fortnite is suing, Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, suing Apple, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Blumhouse and Amazon are teaming up. And then our big story is DC Comics, DC Universe is literally having a crisis on all fronts right now. So a crisis on infinite products. Anyway, we'll get into that a lot. But yeah, all right. So one last, I want to thank Haley, my daughter, for being our resident Umbrella Academy expert last week.
Yeah.
I posted the little clip of the show. I made sure it was all her talking, and then I posted our resident Aiden Gallagher expert, and I tagged him in it, and she was so embarrassed. She's like, take it down.
Yeah, I know. Like some of the stuff she was talking about, I'm like, I like, especially the behind the scenes stuff. I'm a huge fan of the behind the scenes stuff.
So she's she's so obsessed with the show that it's all she thinks about.
Like that kind of enthusiasm.
Yeah, hell yeah. I don't know where she gets it from.
I have no idea, no clue at all.
All right. So Avatar, man. So Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Mike and Brian Breik, both put out statements this week that they're no longer involved with the planned live action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender over at Netflix. As you guys know, and Daryl definitely knows this, Avatar is probably my favorite cartoon of all time, and I was tepid about the idea of a live action series even with them involved. I have zero faith at this point.
Have a little faith.
I don't know. And it's one of those things where Avatar is on Netflix right now. It's huge. It's like, it's doing gangbusters. They're adding The Legend of Korra this week. It may be on there already. I don't know. I haven't logged into Netflix today. But yeah, it's just it's sad. And when I forget which one it was, Brian or Mike, they close out their letter saying, with a quote from Iroh, "Sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you just keep moving, you'll come to a better place." And I hope that's true. We were talking before we went on air. Dan Lin from Rideback Studios is still attached as the executive producer, and as we were furiously going through his filmography real quick, he is they're either really good movies or they're really bad movies, and there's no in between with him. And the same with the TV shows. They're all bad. So
yeah, he like we said, he's a consummate hit and miss.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I like. Even honestly, with the original creators, I honestly think this show is a hit or miss. I don't think there's going to be much in between.
Yeah,
I'm probably halfway through season 1. Funny enough, I was trying to figure out what to watch last night, and then I was like, you know what? Let me watch an episode of this. It was the one where Aang got captured and he gets rescued by the most unlikely of people. So I'm not sure what their plan was for the Avatar. One thing I don't want, like even with them involved, and this is where I don't know if you're going this way when you said you were kind of tepid on it. I don't want a remake of Avatar. I don't want the exact same thing to happen.
No, I don't want a shot for shot. Like, I'd like to change some things. Yeah. Like, there's some things that need to change for sure.
So I don't know if they were going that route or not. And again, I don't know if we'll ever really know. No. But I'm not one of those. I haven't gotten into that grind of Avatar yet, so it's not really it's just a bright show right now for me. It's one of those shows that, it's just something I can watch for 25 minutes and it's really cool. And I just, I love Aang as a character. So
he was the producer on The Box. That one with
is that the one with
Cameron Diaz and James Marsden and Frank LaPaglia? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew. Yeah. Now I'm really.
But hey, he's like I said, he was on the 2 Sherlock movies. He was, which I loved.
I didn't like either one of them. I've only seen the first It movie. I didn't even bother with chapter 2 because it was like 15 hours long. He did Aladdin.
Which I don't have any. I don't have any inkling. I don't feel like watching that. So Lethal Weapon, I never really watched that show. Frequency, never watched that.
Yeah, but like if you look at this, like Forever was
a Lego movie.
Season. Lethal Weapon's his longest series, and it went for 3 seasons, and that one ended because of cancel culture. So anyway, I just like, I don't know, like I'll give it a shot. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna watch it out of spite. Like, I'll definitely give it a shot. Yeah. But I do think it's interesting that Netflix responded today. And they were their statement was we have complete respect and admiration for Bryke and the story that they created in Avatar, in the Avatar animated series. Although they have chosen to depart the live-action project, we are confident in the creative team and their adaptation. Nothing scandalous or anything like that. So, that's definitely interesting. And
I know in the article it says one of the things that this is from Geek Tire, Joey Parr. He says, they don't seem to be too worried about it, which actually worries me even more. And like I told you, it's like, what do you expect them to? Would you say, like in a situation like this is pretty much the only thing they can say. Yeah. Because if they come out with any doubts, that's going to just make things even worse for people.
If they come out and they're like, "Holy shit, the sky is falling. The badger moles have have revolted. The sky bison are shitting on people as they fly by. It's
suck.
like
That would really suck.
Yeah, that would not ingrain any confidence. My thing is I think the bending is really hard to make look cool in live action.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm sorry. I just had a snapshot of the that Avatar movie.
Yeah, I mean, like at the worst, it's Anakin floating an apple across the table in episode 2. At best, it's Magneto in some of the later, X-Men movies. The Michael Fassbender, Magneto. But yeah, so I'm just I don't know, like, because both the Avatar and Korra series are so near and dear to me. I was gonna be critical of anything live action. So, but yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll definitely see.
Yeah.
I think.
And hey,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
And one of the great things about streaming is, hey, you can take a chance on something, and if it works, it works. Like, when we watched Umbrella Academy, it was one of those things that works.
Yeah.
When we tried to watch Cursed, it just didn't work, and so we just said, hey,
tried to watch what? What was that we tried to watch? I'm not familiar with what it is that you're talking about.
Did your brain delete it from your mind?
Dude, I only watched 29 minutes of it. I couldn't even. So
yeah.
I have a friend. He's like, no, you need to go back and check it out. I'm like, I really don't. I really.
Somebody
really
said
not,
that.
So.
Like one of the guys at my gym, he said one of his friends said that about it. And I was like, And then me and this other woman that were there, we were just like looked at each other like, we both tried the first episode. Yeah,
pass, hard pass,
hard pass.
So all right, so yeah, in other like TV live action news, actually this is an example, like Quake, they did her like powers well, like it kind of could have been airbending the way she like would like do concussive blasts out of her hands. So the series finale came about, and I'm gonna say this. I watched it today. It was 2 hours. It was a double episode. It really stuck the landing.
Cool.
Like I was really, for a show that was so up and down, and that I don't feel like it really found its stride until it cut down to 13 episodes. It was pretty. It got pretty good there at the end. I mean, it was never great. I think this season with Ghost Rider was probably one of the more interesting seasons. I think.
I really like the Ghost Rider.
I think when they started splitting it into like 3 stories for the season instead of just one big long season when they were 22, that's kind of where it really kind of was like, okay, I'm in it for the duration. But yeah, it was really good. There were some interesting sacrifices. There were some interesting like twists and turns along the way, and it totally set up Agents of Sword, which will be coming to Disney Plus at some point, and it looks like we're gonna get some of our favorite characters back.
Yeah, and I am actually looking forward to getting watching the season once it comes to Netflix or wherever.
Yeah.
I told you before we started why I didn't watch it this season. And it's good to hear that it stuck the landing, because speaking of hit and miss, so many shows, that's a hit and miss. The series finales are so difficult, especially for, shows that have any type of time and any type of, fan base, because the fans are going to everybody's expecting something different, wanting something different.
Right.
So a show that can do a good job of not, and again, we know everybody, I don't care how good it is, everybody's not going to be satisfied. But to stay true to what they've done, and that's tough. I mean, that's tough. I'm kind of a bit nervous about Supernatural when it comes back. And yes, Supernatural is still on, Brian, regardless of what you may think.
Yes, I
have to beat you to. So I'm kind of nervous about how they finish that off, because I've been a fan of that for good Lord, 15 freaking years. That's insane. But that's one of those things. So I am looking forward to this, and I'm glad one of the things, I did read the article, even though it had a couple spoilers, thankfully not too much.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't watched it because it did just air like the day before talking about this. But I want to talk about Chloe Bennett for a second because we make fun of Stephen Amell and we kind of make fun of Tom Welling for like Tom Welling face. And Chloe Bennett definitely had Tom Welling face at the beginning of the series. And
yes, she did.
She I didn't realize she was like a pop star in Asia. Did you know that?
This is news to me.
So you were today years old when you found that out. You were just now years old. And I didn't even realize she was half Asian. Anyway,
me neither.
It was like she turned into like quite the little powerhouse of an actress. Like, and there's a scene where her and her love interest this season like share a first kiss for like the 5th time because like time travel's involved with this season. And it's just like the glee she like, I mean, and the guy she was kissing is he's very handsome and he was on another Marvel television show that was on the ABC network that took place in the past. And I
don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, dude, Agent Carter, it's a great show.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about another show.
No. Anyway, and like she goes in to like, have this moment with him and like you totally just bought it. It's like, holy crap. Like she just turned like it's those kind of things where like she would just have these little moments and like she'd have this little like almost rock-esque eyebrow cock that she would do. But no, she was really good. My favorite characters in the show were always Fitzsimmons.
Fitzsimmons for the win.
And I liked how Mac finally stopped being a little bitch, and really kind of became awesome throughout the last season. So
yeah,
but
that was one of my quabbles with Mac early on. And I understood why they had that character, but I'm glad to see and again, I haven't seen this season, but he's evolved over the last couple seasons.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the hard part about Mac, right, is the guy that plays him, and I don't know his name. Anyway, when he first came on to S.H.I.E.L.D., he was also like he did the first season on S.H.I.E.L.D. and then he did a couple seasons on The Last Man on Earth, the Will Forte show that was on Fox. And he was so much better on that show. And it's like, well, dude, Mac, just stay there. Like, you don't need to go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, you're much better on the show. You're hilarious. And, we don't get to see, like, any of this side of you on S.H.I.E.L.D. because they made Mac just kind of a crybaby. But yeah, so it was really good. And it kind of, the arc for Coulson, who's obviously the main character of the show, was really, really cool. And hopefully they figure out a way to tie some of this into the MCU for Phase 4.
Yeah, especially like you were saying, if they're going to do an Agents of S.W.O.R.D., because again, that's one of those things we kind of saw a tease in at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yep.
So they're going to do it on the Plus. They definitely need to figure out a way to tie some of this stuff in. You just can't, and I think that's one thing they kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. became the redheaded stepchild in a way. The idea was to make sure all of this connects to the MCU, and then they found out, okay, this might be a little bit more difficult or not as rewarding, so they didn't necessarily stick that route. But yeah, you definitely need to kind of circle back and make some connections if you're going to do an Agents of S.W.O.R.D. with some of these characters.
Yeah,
which I honestly think again, Quake is one of those. I have a Clark type relationship from The 100 with her. Yeah, which I like.
Oh yeah,
because
she's a very well defined character. She's multifaceted and Yeah, no, you're right. Like, I'd like to see her show up in the MCU. Like, I would like to see Chloe. Love to. Like, she's a powerhouse. She could be in it. I mean, in the comics, she's been an Avenger, but she could totally be an Avenger. or like
but,
a warrior or new warrior or something like that.
Yeah, and I guess there's no there. She comes in. There's no reason to bring Victor in from X-Men, huh?
No. No.
But yeah, I do like her character. I would like to see, and it seems like they're going that direction. And somewhere down the road, bringing Chloe Bennett back.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, honestly, bringing them all back. Like Yo-Yo was a great character. Yo-Yo was like one of the most interesting characters. She had a great arc this season. Obviously, Melinda May, the Cavalry. She's great. So yeah, it was just.
I just love this cast. I really do.
I mean, as far as a show that was like really uneven when it started, and like that first season, the whole idea of Centipede when it was Hydra, and they had to wait for the Captain America Civil War, reveal that Hydra was, or not Civil War, Winter Soldier reveal that Hydra was a thing, and then they were able to turn around the next week, and then they provided the helicarrier for Age of Ultron, It was like they never actually crossed over, and it, there was a little bit. They had Lady Sif show up and chasing down escaped Asgardians and things like that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it turned out to be a really good show. So, and I know some people were shocked that like it went on for 8 seasons, and that I think you have every right to be shocked if you stopped watching after season 2. I will say one really cool thing, because they were jumping through decades. They came across Garrett, Bill Paxton's character, in the past, and he was played by Bill Paxton's son. So,
see, that's awesome.
And it was just really cool, and like he kind of looks like his dad, and you're like. And like I was like, where did they find an actor that looks so much like Bill Paxton? And then I like looked up who played Garrett, and it's like, oh, holy crap, that's awesome! Like, way to go. So, not nearly as good of an actor as his dad. Just gonna put that one out there. Don't get your hopes up. All right. So, anything else about Shield?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Moving on. So, a little bit of gaming news. I know. Do you play Fortnite?
I've played like 3 games of Fortnite, and that was like 4 years ago.
So
no.
I'll play Fortnite every now and then. I'll play it on my tablet, actually. It's kind of fun to play on the iPad. But I don't think I play Fortnite right. I just like run to the middle of the circle and hide and pick people off. So.
Oh, you're that guy.
but then like inevitably I get killed. So I've won like one battle royal in like however many years it's been out. And when I say I play, it's like maybe once every 2 months I'll load it up. But they Epic Games has filed paperwork to sue Apple over their App Store policies. So if you guys aren't familiar, Apple takes 30% of the cut. So if you charge,
insane.
I'm not defending Apple here. I know I'm an Apple fanboy and apologist in most cases, but there's no reason that Apple should take a 30% cut, 30 cents on every dollar. That's just not right. For hosting a place where people can buy your games, especially when Apple's a closed system, so it's not like they could get. There's no other way to get the games on the iPhone or iPad or in a lot of cases on the computers. So they Epic Games is suing Apple. The iOS version of Fortnite, you're gonna be really upset when you hear this, has raked in more than $1.2 billion for a free game. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's the microtransactions.
Absolutely. And so an Apple statement today called the Epic actions unfortunate, but they didn't address the lawsuit. They said today Epic Games took the unfortunate step of violating Apple Store guidelines when they applied equally to every developer and designed to keep the store safe for our users. As a result, the Fortnite app has been removed from the store. Epic enabled a feature in its app which was not reviewed or approved by Apple, and they did so with the express intent of violating the Apple Store the App Store guidelines regarding in-app payments that apply to every developer who sells digital goods and services. So basically what happened is Epic put in a workaround to be able to buy whatever the points were, whatever the the money, ducats,
their in-game
or whatever
currency.
their in-game currency is, without having to mark it up. Because that was the other thing, is they had marked up for the Apple Store. They had marked up the the currency to pass that 30% on, which is something they also weren't supposed to do. But yeah, so I like this is going to be really, really interesting. I feel like this could be a groundbreaking bit of litigation here for the App Store. I will say I hope it doesn't go the way of the Google Play Store, though, because something like 45 to 60% of apps in the Apple or in the Google Play Store have malware. And I want to say it's less than like 5% of the apps in the App Store have malware. But I will say, if you get a chance, they did a parody of Apple's 1984 ad from the Super Bowl called 1980 Fortnite. It's really quite funny. But as of right now, you can't download Fortnite. It's not, as of recording, it's not on the App Store right now. There's no way to update it. If you have it on your device, you can still use it, but there's no updating or transactions. So, like I said, this is going to be a really interesting thing for them.
Particularly since that it was just last month that Tim Cook was in front of Congress, during the antitrust hearing. So this is actually I think it's good timing by Epic, because Apple's already in spotlight for these practices.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things Epic did is they're not looking for monetary damages. They're asking the court to force Apple to change the App Store policies, which, again, like I said, that's part of the antitrust hearing. So
did you
30%?
Did you watch any of those hearings?
No, I didn't.
Mark Zuckerberg was in his backyard, like, smoking meat the whole time.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it just makes me laugh, right? Because because the one, I forget which Republican congressperson it was, but he was like, "Can you tell us why you shadow banned Donald Trump for this tweet that he did?" And bless Zuckerberg's heart, he was like, I'm not sure how Twitter does it. We're Facebook." He was just like, he could have been like, "Dude, what are you talking about? The wrong freaking platform. Jack Dorsey's off ruining the world with Twitter somewhere else. He's not here."
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. It's an interesting time, man. It really, really is. So, all right. So we have one more story before we get to the whole DC thing, and you brought this one to my attention. We're both big fans of Blumhouse, and Jason Blum in particular, and all the Jason Blum's filmography as a producer is like a murderer's row of like hits and like cult classics, and there's very few misses on there for him.
Yeah.
But why don't you take this one, because you brought this Welcome to Blumhouse thing to my attention, and it's really interesting what's happening here.
Yeah. So it was funny. I just happened to see this maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes before we start recording. But they're partnering with this new program with Amazon called Welcome to Blumhouse, and the project is 8 genre movies developed with some up and coming horror talent. So the first 4, so there's 8 movies, and the first 4 are going to be it's going to launch on October 6th. That's actually perfect timing. Hopefully some stuff is a little bit back to normal, but it's perfect because Halloween is coming up. So 4 of the 8 will debut this year, while the other 4 will be sometime next year. And as get the quote, each of these films presents a distinctive vision, unique perspective on common themes centered around family and love as redemptive or destructive forces. And like you said, I'm a fan of, for the most part, fan of Blumhouse movies. The Happy Death Day, what's the one we just watched, The Hunt, which was so much fun.
And I don't even like horror, and I like I typically end up being a fan of the Blumhouse movies.
Right. Yeah. like, Jason Blum was part of The Invisible Man, another movie we both liked. So this is one of those things. This is one of the things I like about streaming services, when they do not just one movie, but when they do partnerships like this. With a studio that's is pretty hot. Blumhouse is pretty hot. So, and I actually, they do have the 4 films that were announced. One's called The Lie, The Lie, Black Box, Evil Eye, and Nocturne. Those are the 4 movies, the first 4 movies that we'll get this year. And there's no word on what the 4 next year are, but I really like this. Again, perfect timing for Halloween, because with Halloween comes around in that October time frame, and since I won't be having my Big Ten football, I will. And yes, I'm very bitter about that. But
I saw a bunch of posts saying at least Michigan won't lose to Ohio State again.
Yeah, that's hell. I'm just going to be watching the heck out of SEC, Big 12, and ACC football. So. As long as they do play. But like I was saying, October is that time of year where I'm like, okay, what is there to watch? And 4 movies right there.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So what it says is The Lie and Black Box are both premiering on October 6th, with Evil Eye and Nocturne following the week after on October 13th.
Yep. And The Lie, it says here, The Lie, when their teenage daughter confesses to impulsively killing her best friend, 2 desperate parents attempt to cover up the horrific crime, leading them to a complicated web of lies and deception. Starring Muriel Enos from The Killing, Peter Sarsgaard, and Joey King. So
wasn't he the wasn't she the wife in World War Z? And
yes,
she was also and she also plays in Hannah, like
I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that movie and that show. And then obviously Peter Sarsgaard from Green Lantern and Garden State and things like that. And then Joey King from The Kissing Booth 2. Anyway. But yeah, so I mean, like that kind of stuff right there. That's super interesting. And then The Black Box. After losing his wife and his memory in a car accident, a single father undergoes an agonizing experimental treatment that causes him to question who he really is. Starring
Mamadou
Athi from Jurassic World 3, Felicia Rashad from Creed and The Cosby Show, Towson, oh Jesus, I can't even say that last name, Moro Hanfola from The Chi, Charmaine Bingwa.
The Chai.
What?
I think
Chai?
That's the Chai. Yeah, okay. About Chicago.
Right? Oh, okay. Oh, let's just say about Chirac. And then Charmaine Bingwa from Trees of Peace, which I've never heard of that, and then Tori James from The Flash. So those are the first
James?
Two. Troy, sorry, not Tori, Troy. Damn dyslexia. So yeah, it's interesting. And then the other 2 are,
Evil Eye and Nocturne.
Yeah, and so I think we should definitely talk about these when they land.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, here's a cool quote from Julie Rappaport, who's the co-head of movies at Amazon Studios. We're excited to launch Welcome to the Blumhouse with the exhilarating and provocative slate of original films for the first time ever on Prime Video. This collection from diverse and emerging filmmakers was a thrill to put together with our wonderful partners at Blumhouse Television. These chilling stories have something for everyone, ready to fright and delight genre fans and newcomers alike. And that's a lot of rhyming. And we're excited to share them. We're excited to share them with our global Prime Video customers. This sounds like it's going to be Amazon's version of The Twilight Zone or Black Mirror or Amazing Stories or oh shoot, it's the one I like the best. Oh, Outer Limits.
I love the Outer Limits.
Yeah. Yeah, this should be pretty good, and it seems like there's some really interesting stuff. Evil Eye is actually based off one of their award-winning Audible originals. Do you have an Audible account?
Yes, and I wonder if I downloaded that.
I did not download Evil Eye, but I do remember seeing it. But But yeah, so that's really cool that they're taking one of the Amazon properties and turning that into a movie.
And Amazon has done this before with what is
They
the
did
name? It was a
Homecoming.
podcast.
Yeah, Homecoming was from Gimlet, which was
Oh
was
no, not from
interesting.
Audible, but it was absolutely it was a podcast.
It was the horror
You know what I'm
movie
talking
one.
about?
Yeah, I do. It was
Yeah.
like Chore or something like that. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. I think this is really neat that they're gonna do this, and you know, there's a bunch of stuff that's gonna come out and let people watch, and you know, more of this, please and thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right. Now moving on to our main story of the show. Like I saw a lot of people calling it a crisis. I saw a lot of people like being all super Chicken Little about this and everything. I think this is the opening salvo to comics getting away from the monthly titles, to be honest. I'm kind of excited to hit up the comic book store this weekend and chat with Jeff to see his take on all of this. So AT&T owns all of this, right? They own Comcast, they own Warner Brothers, they own DC Comics, and DC Comics is a very small part of AT&T's portfolio, but it seems to cause them a lot of headaches. Oh, speaking of DC, did you see the latest stuff about Ray Fisher?
Oh yeah, I saw the headline about attacking or like him and Jeff Johns.
Yeah, so like, but they're saying like there's like maybe legal ramifications to like the things Jeff Johns was doing on set.
Ooh.
So
yeah, okay.
Like something like I don't want to get into it too much because one, I didn't have a chance to like check sources or research it. And even though like what the coverage I saw was from Den of Nerds and those guys are great and they don't just willy-nilly post stuff, I still think it's a little premature to talk about, other than just, you know, it happens to come up. But as far as DC goes, so DC Comics and DC Universe, which are known as DC Entertainment, took a huge hit. Most of the high level editorial staff from DC is gone now. Bob Harris, their editor in chief, Hank Canelaz, who is the senior vice president of publishing strategy and support services, Bobby Chase, VP of global publishing initiatives and digital strategy, Brian Cunningham, who's a senior story editor. I got all of that mixed up. Anyway, but yeah, and no, Brian Cunningham, the senior story editor from Deadline, confirms all of this. They are not commenting, and for right now, Jim Lee is safe as far as chief creative officer goes. They've already named some names, which I'm not 100% confident that the people they've named are going to stick to the positions that they're at. But yeah, so I think the big thing is DC Universe laid off a ton of people. I think this is the death rattle for DC Universe.
Oh, absolutely. There's the DC Universe is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things
it says it only has one exclusive series left, which is Titans.
Which it's only a matter of time before that. One show is not going to keep something like that afloat.
No.
Just not.
Nope. So I mean, this is really interesting though. I think I mean, this is they're calling this, like, people are calling this an implosion and things like that. Like, I'm curious as to what this is going to mean for the CW. I'm curious as to what this is going to mean for the movies going forward.
Yeah.
Is Wonder Woman going to be the last movie of this particular DCEU? And because I don't think anything else has even gone to production, has it?
Not that I know of, at least. I mean, Suicide Squad, remember, but it's Suicides. How are they gonna? I guess I don't know how the I don't think the Suicide Squad and the Batman are going to be like
Yes.
entwined.
Yeah,
with
those
these.
aren't. Yeah, they're going to be kind of on their own. So DC has a big event coming up in about 2 weeks called DC Fandom.
August 22nd. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's about a week. Anyway, and so it's kind of like their D23, and there's a lot of people who are like, why would they do this right before DC Fandom? And it's like, because then they can go to DC Fandom and announce a bunch of cool stuff, and everybody will forget about this.
One thing, like one of the videos I did watch on this, I think it was Beyond the Trailer, she said that a lot of the junkets for that have been pre-recorded. Again, I don't know how that works or not. I think that was Beyond the Trailer. I'm not sure if how much is, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
you still watch Grace's channel?
No, I just happened to watch it for this. She actually had some pretty good news on like breaking stuff. I actually like how she broke it down.
Yeah, it
was like what I did. I just like went to YouTube and just put in DC layoffs, and I just watched a bunch of channels. And just after I read the articles and seeing if any of them gave me some kind of like interesting things. And one of the things that and you were talking about, because here's some of the things I had, like the shows, how it affects the shows, how it affects the movies, and what do you actually think this means for the comic industry as a whole going forward? Like, do you think this is a like a step towards, like, one of the things I know you just said is like, it might be the death knell for monthly issues, but what about the digital versus physical copies?
So DC has always had like digital originals, right? They did these great little like Injustice comics. They were short. They were like $1. They came out weekly, and they did Smallville. They did Smallville season 11, essentially on there, and it was that was a really good comic. I have all of that. They did a bunch of Batman Beyond stuff where they brought Dick Grayson back into the, that Paul Dini animated universe and that sort of thing. So, it's one of those things where they've always been making that content, right? But digital always kind of seemed like an afterthought. I think that's going to change. I think stepping away from Diamond like they did during the pandemic definitely was kind of the opening salvo to that change. And then they put out so many books. I mean, they don't put out the level of books that Marvel puts out, but they put out a lot of stuff, and it's not all good. And they haven't gone the SJW route that a lot of the Marvel stuff has gone. But that's not to say
Wonder Woman photo. Did you see that Wonder Woman cover?
It's a variant cover done by the people at Rooster Teeth. I mean, we talked about Jay Lee and Tom King. Like, we have no room to complain about that.
That's not Wonder Woman.
It doesn't matter. It's what somebody wanted to draw. DC wanted to pay them to draw it. Great.
Oh, yeah. What I'm saying, that's not Wonder Woman.
So yeah, but I mean, maybe it's someone's idealized version of how they want Wonder Woman to be. But I mean,
yeah, that's terrible.
And
but
here's the thing.
The one thing
I'm not buying Wonder Woman anyway. I stopped buying Wonder Woman when Liam stopped drawing it when it came back for Rebirth. But I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So I have a question, and it kind of piggybacks off of what I'm saying about this. And again, you're more into this than I am, and like I know you said that they're not as SJW as Marvel, which I'm pretty sure they don't have a Snowflake and Safe Space character.
No.
There's that. But as far as their online presence and how they interact with fans, how is that comparatively to Marvel? And the reasoning I said that is because one of the and I don't remember which one it was. It's not actually in this article, but one of the editorial staff that got fired, made this post about the whole Wonder Woman thing, saying the people that are complaining about, the few people that are complaining about this are nothing but trolls, this, that, and the other. Yeah, the usual stuff.
The comic book.
I don't know.
The comic book industry, like as a whole, has a problem with Twitter, right? They just all need to kind of lay off.
Back away.
And like seriously, like delete it from your phone and your tablet and your computer and your brain and the internet.
Everybody, please, thank you.
Like,
we appreciate it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like I said, DC is a really small part of the Warner Brothers portfolio, and really what it is it's just an IP shop for them. Like, they get to have the intellectual property to Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter and Static Shock and all the Doom Patrol and Shade the Changing Man and all these like really cool and weird and fun and New Gods and stuff like that. And I think, honestly, like we did an episode, Johnny and I did an episode back in the day where I walked around for 2 weeks with the notebook and rewrote how the DC universe should relaunch, both for comics and movies, to make way more sense. And, like my version leaves Wonder Woman as the protector of Earth, taking on that Superman role, because Superman should be out in the stars as an ambassador for Earth, keeping, people away. Which I think is completely different. And then you get to have him go against people who are closer to his power set, or who can actually beat him down. So he has to like really think things through. I think, they've made a few errors, lately. They have, they've gone like Batman is like Deadpool and Wolverine. He's just in everything. There's too much Batman. Brian Michael Bendis, I think has been not so good for DC as he's come in. There's the whole the overuse of Watchmen has been a bad thing, I feel. We talked about Tom King. Like, that guy needs to just sit down and think about his life. And then like they did the they have this Black Label that kind of is what was replacing Vertigo. And, the very first issue that came out, it was like the Bat Penis page where the artist it's a drawing of Bruce Wayne, and the bottom half of him is in shadow, and you see the outline of his dick.
Are you serious?
Oh no! I'm like, I got the book like before I even like I put the book on my list because I was like, oh sweet, it's a adult Batman book. I'm really interested in this because it was all about it was called Batman Damned, and so Batman thinks he killed the Joker, and him and Constantine have to team up to like retrace his day using supernatural means, but Bruce is kind of all out of it. So. Like, yeah, it seems interesting. Brian Azzarello writes really good miniseries. But yeah, so it's like they do those little things that are stupid. They've rebooted since the New 52. Well, I guess since Flashpoint, they've rebooted the whole universe 3 times.
Oh, jeez.
Right? And I mean, that's in less than 10 years. They don't do any long-term planning. The move to Burbank from New York, I think, really kind of gutted the company of some of its heart and soul. And, I think they're not a priority. They're not a priority to AT&T. They're not a priority to Warner Brothers. It's like when you own the IP and you get it so wrong when you do the movies and the television, like maybe you don't deserve to have that IP. So I don't.
If you're nothing without the suit, you don't need the suit.
Right. So yeah, I don't know.
By the way,
yeah.
That idea for the whole Wonder Woman Superman thing, that's actually brilliant, man. I honestly really like that idea.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I talked about it for an hour and a half. Like I sketched it all out. And I didn't get rid of any characters. I didn't, I made room for new characters to show up and ask, see, like Marvel was kind of always the the social justice warrior anyway, with like X-Men
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And I love X-Men. It's one of my favorite, X-Men and Teen Titans and Batman and Spider-Man when I was growing up, and Green Lantern were my books. And so I don't know, like I'm really sad for this editorial staff, because like Bob Harris has been a great editor-in-chief, I feel. He's had the bravery to try new things. He's had the bravery to do some spin-off things. He's had but when they do an event, it's like too much. I think that's part of the problem, is they let some of that stuff go on. Everybody talks about Jim Lee. Jim Lee just, I don't know what he does. He puts out a lot of covers. He does a lot of that.
I love his covers.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great artist. HBO Max, like, I don't understand why DC Universe did not just cease to exist the day HBO Max came out.
That whole launch was screwed up from the whole HBO Max thing was absolutely, they screwed the pooch so badly with that launch. It's unbelievable that a company that big puts out something that stumbles as much as HBO Max did.
Yeah, I hate that app. I love the content on there. I hate the app. I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's funny, the more, like, I thought it was fine, but the more I look through it, the less I like it.
Like, HBO Now was such a utilitarian app. It was so easy to use. It was so easy to find things on. I have no idea where to go to find what I want to watch. I have to like click through to like 5 menus just to get to the movies on HBO. And then when you get to the movies, it's like everything. It's not just the HBO stuff, even though you're in the HBO category.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things like where they just it actually, to me, it synonymizes use my words, itself with how they've handled the whole DC properties.
Yeah.
And it's just so haphazard and just not understanding the basic fundamentals of how to do this.
I think another problem is it's a company that has 80 years of history at this point, right? Over 80 years of history. DC Comics. It's they want to forget that history. They want like the new. And they're I mean, they're not as bad as Marvel with all the number ones, but I mean, I'm sorry, like, even with the fact that the MCU is the biggest franchise on the planet as far as like movies and especially in nerd culture goes, Batman and Superman are still the two most recognizable heroes. I mean, I think you have Batman, you have Superman in that order, and then you have Spider-Man, and then I think Iron Man is kind of up there. Just because of Robert Downey Jr. I think then you get Wonder Woman, and then then it's kind of a crapshoot. It might be Captain America in there. Wolverine is probably up there somewhere. Deadpool's up there in that top 10.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have name recognition. The fact that Justice League only made $680 million or whatever it was is a travesty. And honestly, anyone who was involved with that should have been released from their contracts. Like, they should have just said, this is no bueno, no more. And that's with a Wonder Woman that made $1 billion. That was, I mean, come on, that's the same. It made $1 billion the same reason that Captain Marvel made $1 billion. Neither one of those movies were very good. They're very uneven. The best part of the Captain Marvel movies were when they were in space. The best part of the Wonder Woman movie was when she was kicking ass in World War I.
See, Wonder Woman, I like the first 2/3. Like, I think
the first 2/3.
The first 2/3 of the movies are great.
Fantastic. Patty Jenkins did a masterful job.
Yeah, and it just like that last act just really struggled.
But that's the Warner Brothers interference.
That's
that's where they don't trust the people that they have to make good things. Like, you look at Shazam, right? So Shazam it's a very serviceable movie when it comes to a superhero movie. The thing that it has best going for it is Zachary Levi and Mark Strong, hands down. The thing that it has working against it is, the Planeteers that become the Shazam kids, which was something that was introduced into the comic books recently. That, like there's the Shazam family, they have that, they've always had that, but then kind of turning all those kids into heroes was just kind of dumb. And it was way too soon to do that. They should have never done that in the first movie. And again, but they thought like, oh, like, we have an Asian Shazam and a black Shazam and a girl Shazam and, a really fat kid.
We're all Shazam.
Yeah, we're all Shazam. We had a crippled kid be a Shazam, like all that stuff, which is fine. Like, I'm not against that, just not in the first movie. And they thought they were going to sell a butt ton of toys. You can go to Five Below right now, and all you see in there are Shazam toys. Because one, they were crap. They didn't look like any of the actors who played the roles. And two, they were crap. They just put out crap figures.
I got the Shazam pops just because I like, and I got them for like $4 and $5.
Yeah. The pops are cool
at most.
Yeah.
But,
so that leads to the next big part of this is they are closing down DC Direct, which I have dollars and dollars worth of DC Direct toys over the last 22 years. I'm embarrassed to say how much I've spent on DC Direct toys.
I like that, dollars and dollars.
The whole the Lantern Corps, the War of the Light Lantern Corps stuff. I mean, I have almost all of those, and there were 5 of those coming out every week for a long time. It's one of those things where, I have every DC Direct Nightwing. I have every DC Direct Kyle Rayner. It's just, it's sad. And they're going to turn this over to Mattel, and Mattel makes shit toys too.
Oh God.
So,
I do not like Mattel stuff.
I've got these Nightwing statues that are DC Direct that are beautiful pieces. Like you were over here on Saturday looking at, like, the black and white Jim Lee Nightwing I have from Hush, and then the giant the giant color version of it on my shelf.
I have a question on that. Right, like you said they were turning it over to Mattel. What about the license or whatever they were working with McFarlane Toys?
So that's different. I mean, that's still happening. It's just they're shuttering their in-house.
Their in-house. Okay.
Studio, which again is no bueno, right? I mean, Hasbro's bad enough, but Mattel is just give it to Boss Fight. That would be really interesting. But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where like, this is going to be a massive upheaval for them. I think the only way AT&T is going to get anything out of this is if they really reevaluate what they're doing. And unfortunately, I think the way they have to go is going to take a gigantic chunk out of the direct sales comic market, because they already write for trades. They write in 6-issue arcs, so you buy volumes, and it's easier to just put those out. So maybe what they do is they do a limited number of monthly comics, and then the trades come out much sooner than
kind of like that transition we've seen with movies where it used to be, a movie come out in theater, we wouldn't get it for 9 months or more, like in home, but now it's like 3 months, 4 months that once that theater run ends or what have you.
So yeah, I like I said, it's really, we don't know what's going to happen from this. I mean, this could all be all for naught. I mean, it could turn around and they could be like, hey, look, we're going to put story first. We're not going to worry about a shared universe. This Matt Reeves Batman could turn out to be really good. I have zero expectation of that being good or bad right now. Because all we've seen are still shots. I will say Zoe Kravitz is an inspired pick to play Catwoman. She's fantastic, and she's got that Selena Kyle, like throwing back to that whole Eartha Kitt, from the 66 series. She's got that sexy swagger to her. And just because her mom was my first crush ever, so But yeah, it's one of those things where this could be an interesting change, and if they go bigger with digital, cool. I mean, go bigger with digital then. Like, go big or go home.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just interested to see where, and again, just because it's one of those things like that. It's the aftermath, so we can't. There's really not there's just a lot of speculation now,
right?
But like to see where this goes, and if and like you're saying, go big on the the whole digital aspect. Like, is that going to be like? Do you think this? Like, not just this, but just overall where we're going from technology standpoint, we're going to just see less and less physical issues in stores and more trade paperback.
I mean, I think
novels.
we're seeing that already, and to be honest,
okay.
I mean, to be honest, like they have this deal with Walmart, where you can get the comics at Walmart. They had like these big 100-page specials that you could get at Walmart where they collected a bunch of things. But I mean, like, so Warner Media's new CEO is a guy named Jason Kilar, and he's saying direct to consumer is a priority, and direct to consumer does not mean comic book store.
No, it doesn't.
So, and it says no matter what the importance digital comics play in DC's future, given the success of the company's trade paperback program with bookstores, physical comics, and trade collections, they're not going anywhere. So, I mean, that's good to hear. And I also think they made the right choice during the pandemic to step away from Diamond Publishing, which is the monopoly in the comic book publishing business, to go with Luminous, I think that's what it's called, to print their books. And that way they started getting books out when everything was shut down. So, comic book stores had the ability to have new comics where people could come in. Like, I know, like at Queen City, it was by appointment only at the Pleasant Ridge store to go pick up books if you wanted to. So yeah, it's just I'm really interested to see what comes out of DC fandom. I'm really interested to see, I called it a crisis, but let's be honest, there was a whole lot of redundancy with the fact that with the Max, HBO Max and DC Universe, and whatever other streaming apps they have, there's just corporate fat that needed to be trimmed. Now, the fact that 2/3 of the editorial staff from DC is gone, worries me greatly. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. With all of this. Wow, I cannot spell. I'm trying to find who the so they affect 1/3 of the editorial staff is gone.
Okay.
And I'm trying to see who they hired to do this. So Brian Cunningham. No, I'm sorry. So Brian Cunningham is a senior story editor, as well as executive editor Mark Doyle, who he was the one who rolled out the Black Label books. He oversaw Vertigo, which they shuttered a while ago. But yeah, it's just there was a rumor that they hired these two ladies to run it, which I don't know if that's true. I didn't catch their names or anything, but
yeah, I caught that too. And
so. But I think the Snyder Cut is going to be a huge litmus for them coming out. So the projects they have upcoming right now are Wonder Woman 1984, which I don't know if you've seen the new trailer. It's fantastic, but DC has burned us so many times with the awesome trailers for bullshit movies. The Batman, the Suicide Squad, Black Adam, which I have no interest in watching The Rock play The Rock as Black Adam. And yeah, I don't know.
What about the New Gods?
The what?
The New Gods.
Yeah, no, they can't. She's gonna run into the exact same problem she ran into A Wrinkle in Time. It's just not. The New Gods is not cinematic. It doesn't work that way, and it has nothing to do with Ava DuVernay. It's the source material. They're gonna look silly and stupid with weird hats, or they're not gonna have or they're all gonna look so like monochromatic with their different colored jumpsuits or whatever. I'm just not. Yeah, no. I'm just I don't know. Like the Flash needs to be canceled. They need to tell Ezra Miller to go jump in a lake. So I've been watching Doom Patrol over the last couple of days. Just because I've run out of things that I really want to watch. That kid that plays Cyborg on there puts Ray Fisher to shame.
Yeah, and granted, he's gotten more screen time and more time to develop. And
I mean, from the minute you meet him, though, he puts Ray Fisher to shame. He actually looks like Cyborg.
Which, oh my god, that was actually the worst thing about Ray Fisher.
He doesn't look like the aggro Crag.
That was the CG on Cyborg in the Justice League movie was an abomination to me. It was terrible.
It was Black Panther level bad.
Oh jeez. Whew. Anyway, so yeah, it's just, where does DC go from here? And I know one of the things you mentioned were the excess fat, and one of the first things you said is that they have a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like there needs to be a consolidation of, and again with Marvel too, because
I think
I know Marvel is
I think moving forward, anything that's not Superman or Batman is gonna struggle, because those books still do all right. Justice League does all right too. I think Wonder Woman has an audience, so that's good. Green Lantern has an audience, but I think like this weird like Strange Adventures book that like Tom King is writing that I actually kind of enjoy. I have no expectation I'm going to see all 12 issues of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I think they need to get back to just like good storytelling. They need to get away from all these events, and we've been saying this for years on this show. They need to get away from events. They need to get back to either a real shared continuity where it's Batman is in one place at a time, and then he can show up in other places, but it's like you can't have an event going on where he's in two places at once. That kind of like loses everything. Or go back to where it was like Batman kind of hung out in his book, Superman hung out in his book, and they got together in Justice League, which was the whole point of the Justice League book, was to bring in the Avengers and things like that, to bring Teen Titans, to bring these characters together. So yeah, I think where they go is they go back to the drawing board and they look at what's working, and they do that, and they take the things that don't work and don't make money, and they don't waste money on it. If you have like smaller characters, maybe you license them out. Like, let somebody pay a licensing fee to do a Wannabe series that they do on Kickstarter, that then they have to license the character, so DC gets a cut of that. Why not? Like, try a different business model.
Yeah, because honestly, we've seen for the last several years what they're doing now is just not working.
Yeah.
It's much more miss than hit, at least from a theatrical perspective, and again, it seems like it's a similar circumstance mm-hmm. with the books to the comic perspective as well.
Absolutely. Like, if I could say for $25,000 I could license The Question, right? Vic Sage. Like, I'd seriously consider that. And I'm not a professional comic book writer, but I've got a few ideas of like cool Question stories that you could do. And I'd find an artist and hire them to draw the book for me. And why not? Like, give it a shot. Like, do I make $25,000 back? I don't know. Like, can I afford to lose $25,000? Absolutely not. But like, it might be a fun challenge. But like, saying that, like, you have writers out there, like Dan Jurgens is a great writer. Like, I would love to see him be able to write some of these characters. He's doing fantastic on Nightwing right now. And I'd like to see like maybe some of these creators get a chance to write like lesser known DC characters, not under the DC umbrella.
Okay. Because that was one of the things I was going to ask, because you have this certain core of characters that they're going to do pretty well. And then you have the B, C, and D team, and how like some of these characters are still very interesting. They're just not quite as popular. You just need someone, with the name.
Like Jeff Lemire wrote Animal Man when New 52 came out, and it was the best book. It was one of the few like books that was like a super hit, right? And it
Right.
ran its course. It was never going to be like a book that went on for 10 years. But it was great while it was there. And, they unfortunately did an event with Swamp Thing and Frankenstein Agent of Shade, and I forget the other one. And, that kind of killed it. So.
Yeah, and again, one of the things we talk about with Marvel is focus on Marvel and video games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the story, not on your agenda. In this case, it's focus on the story and not on the events.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So it seems simple. Like anytime you're doing some type of story, the story should be front and center.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that story is focused on the character or something going on, but it's just nowadays you see too, especially and with the MCU, we know where the MCU is going, or not the MCU. I'm sorry.
No, we know where the MCU is going to. I mean, it's not
that
just,
too.
It's not just comics. I mean, we know where the MCU is going.
It's bleeding into the MCU now. We've had 10 great years of the MCU. We're focused on the story.
Yep.
It focused on the characters,
and now it's gonna focus on politics and and Brie Larson.
Yeah, and I'm like Kramer said, I'm out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have a tiny little treasure in a Spider-Man package and Tom Holland to.
Oh God, I love him. Man.
Really,
he's awesome.
To really kind of wrap your franchise around, and
and again, like we talked about last week, the Haley Steinfeld news.
Yeah,
Kate Bishop. That's another positive for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Love her. So like getting back to the DC, it's like this is, and again, it's like because the fallout is still coming. There's still a lot we don't. Like I said, kind of repeating myself, but there's a lot we don't know. This is a lot of this is speculation, but it's speculation in the sense of how businesses work.
Right.
There, how many times you have, when you look at middle managers, you say, okay, I have all these middle managers. Do I really need them? And,
I mean, like
it's unfortunate.
We were at Fidelity when they went through one of those things, and there were a lot of people who were really quite good at what they did, but they were in the middle and they were unfortunately superfluous. So
and when I say it, I say it's unfortunate because unless someone is just a bad employee or bad a bad actor, and we've seen plenty of these in the comic industry, in every industry. I'm not happy when somebody loses their job, even if it's something that, hey, it needs to be done.
Right.
It sucks.
And
man.
the sad thing
really
is like, because this industry is in such disarray, those people aren't going to necessarily find jobs in comics.
Right.
And I challenge them to go forth and like make their own comics. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a new label popped up, especially with Chris Ryall from who formerly from IDW is kind of out there doing nobody knows quite what yet. And I think he's someone who I'm interested to keep an eye on. I will say this. I know some people from DC actually listen to this. If anyone out there is doing a project, hit me up on the site, on my email, or on Instagram. Hit us up on the Infamous Podcast Instagram account, and dude, we'll promote the shit out of anything that you guys do. Anything. Yeah. Like, no, not like saying, oh, sponsor the show. No, we'll just, if you have something, we will open every show with, hey, did you back this Kickstarter yet? Speaking of, did you back this Kickstarter? Bob France, who did Metal Shark Bro Volumes 1 and 2, their new Kickstarter, Ninja Nuns, Bad Habit, is on Kickstarter for, I think, another 20 plus days. It's already been funded, but definitely go back that book. And if you missed Metal Shark Bro Volume 1 or 2, like there's I know there's a tier where you can get not just the digital copies, but you can get the actual paper copies, and that's the kind of stuff people can do, and having things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo help make that possible.
Yeah. Bad habit. That's pretty funny.
So, yeah, man. I mean, that's really all I have to say about all this. I think, you know, I this was an interesting week. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened this week that you know, with Bryke leaving Avatar, you know, Shield ending, like, that's sad stuff. The Fortnite thing came up today, so I mean, that's something that's interesting. Happy news is Blumhouse and Amazon are teaming up, and then, you know, this DC thing could turn out to be awesome. You don't know. We don't know yet. That's the thing. And you know, I jokingly called this a literal DC crisis event. But like, it might not be and for some people it is. And you know what? I lost my job during all of this too. Like, I have a tremendous amount of empathy for everybody involved, and you know, like, if anybody needs anything, like, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help with a reference or referral or whatever. But yeah, like, this could be good. I mean, AT&T is not a stupid company, by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it could go a couple ways, and you know, they do think they need better direction, in the sense of having someone who, you know, knows the business but also has the passion. And when I say the business, I don't mean just the comic business, but I mean the business of how to be successful, and understanding that every idea is not necessarily a good idea.
No, but it's still worth it to try. Like, even if
No, and what I mean by that, and let me explain that a little bit more. It's like, look, when we were talking about it, you know, you understand that, you know, all these books are going to be successful. These books over here, you know, they're trimming the fat, not you know, getting a book for everything, and finding creative ways to still be able to use some of these, like you said, use some of these characters that are C tier, are D tier, but have interesting stories that could be told about them. So it's not abandoning, you know, it's not just like, say, hey, we're just doing Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman stories. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that, you know, take a look at your inventory and what makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like you said, that doesn't mean you just go with what works, because when you do that, you do lose some of your creativity.
Right.
And that's in the industry like this, you don't want to lose that creativity. Mm-mm. So it'll be interesting to see what we have going forward.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's going to be, it's an interesting time to see what's happening in the world, and, you know, of comics and of nerd entertainment. I don't think we're at a point where, you know, it's time to start like I don't think there's superhero fatigue yet. I think, you know, I think if anything, right now people are hungry for new stuff. But, you know, at the same time, it's, you know, they need to do better.
It kind of reminds me of in the first Avengers, where Cap is in the Quinjet with Coulson. Speaking of Coulson,
mm-hmm.
And he said he did a redesign of his uniform, and Cap said, "What you know, the red, white, and blue is, you know, too old fashioned." And Coulson says something along the lines of, "I think we need that kind of right now."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do. We need it. So. All right. Well, cool, man. Yeah, so, you know, if you guys like the show, hit us up on iTunes or Podchaser to give us a 5-star review. That would be awesome. I was telling Daryl, like, we have new analytics. At one point, we were ranked like 33rd in TV reviews in the U.S. For last week, which I found like really interesting and awesome. So thank you guys for everyone who's listening.
Yeah, and, thanks a lot.
We appreciate you. We love doing this, and yeah, and like, if you like us, like, check out our Patreon. We've got some cool stuff, because One of the things we have is the ability to pitch an idea for the show. And like, I really kind of want to like have somebody be like, hey, do this. And then so we have to go study and find find out about this topic. So anyway, but yeah.
Hey, talk about cursed for us.
But I'd do it for money. I'd do it. So, but yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, on that note, we will, like Baby Yoda in a satchel. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye. The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, with new episodes out every Sunday. You can find more information about the show online at infamouspodcast.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as at Infamous Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatching app. If you're enjoying the show, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/infamouspodcast for our new tiers and rewards. The Infamous Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Brian Tudor, with music provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @BrianTudor. So, whenever you're listening to the show, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is. And we'll see you next time. Later.